I'd like to call to order the Clarkston Independence District Library Board of Trustee meeting for August 9th, 2021. Meeting will call to order at 6:30. Julie, please. Oh, let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Dan Gaffney.
Here.
Dan Green.
Here.
Allison McFadden-Keeson.
Here.
Nancy Booth.
Here.
Carol Pomeroy.
Here.
Ann Rose. Chriselle. Here. Julie Meredith. Here.
Thank you. I'll accept a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Both at the same time.
We have time. We have Dan, and who's second?
We'll do it.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. Any comments or questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Call to the public. Hello, public.
Good evening. I hope everyone got our online newsletter that Sissy Phillips did. It announces our fall book sale. The regular sale will be September 22nd and 23rd. We're very excited to have a normal book sale, and we're hoping that we'll be able to do it. Our upcoming book donation dates are August 4th and August 18th. And our reading market is still going very strong. In July, we took in $209, $203 from sales and $6 from donations. And since we started in December, we have collected $1,895 for our online book sale.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will close the call to the public. I'll accept a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
There are 4 items on the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to single out any one of those? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Consent agenda is approved. Library statistics.
So it has been requested by the Children's Department and the Adult Department to forego the statistics until after summer reading is over because they don't want to tell you, they want to be able to tell you the whole thing at once.
Okay.
Okay.
So sorry about that. I put it on the agenda and then I talked to Evan about it and he's like, no, wait and do it in the next meeting. So I apologize. They want to do a full report on summer reading.
All right. In that case, we'll move to the library director's report.
Okay. I will give a general update in terms of the summer reading program finale will take place on Saturday, August 14th. We will celebrate with 2 sessions of the Animal Magic Live Animal Show at 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. outside in a large 40 by 60 foot tent. We will have a drawing to award the summer reading gift baskets, and all participants will get to choose a free book. Bowman Chevrolet and St. Joseph Mercy Oakland will also be providing a free car seat safety check for anyone who is interested. The Friends of the Clarkston Independent District Library are sponsoring a reception for the public to celebrate the library's Vote for the Best Award. This is the 3rd year we have captured this title, and we are excited to thank the community on Monday, August 30th from 4 to 6 p.m. So we're hoping everyone will come to that one. Earlier this month, I was part of the peer review team for the Library of Michigan's Mid-Sized Library Services and Technology Act grants. This year there were several more proposals than there was funding available. The discussion took over 3 hours, and we recommended funding or partially funding a list of excellent projects. We also took the time to provide constructive feedback of projects that were not recommended for funding this year because we felt they would benefit from some tweaking and could be resubmitted next year with greater success. Incidentally, the main reason that we suggested tweaking was because the projects tended to be overambitious. So we wanted them to scale it back and make it reasonable for what they could get done in a year. So, the Library of Michigan's grant coordinator, Karen Reich, wants to assure that projects are successful and does a great job making this process a positive learning experience for both the applicants and the peer reviewers. I really enjoyed doing this particular project. In terms of finances, the library has received the second state aid payment for this fiscal year. So the total, including both payments, was $30,844.34. We budgeted to receive $10,000 because the amount of state aid can greatly change depending on the economy and the priorities at the state level. We always estimate low to prevent budget issues. Last year's state aid total was $28,471.36. The library has also received the annual penal fine payment from Oakland County. This year's total was $62,794.94. We budgeted for $40,000. This is another revenue item that varies greatly, so we always estimate low. Last year, the library received $61,247. Just as an aside on this particular one, since I've been here, penal fines have ranged anywhere from $40,000 to $74,000. So I do try to keep it in a range that's appropriate. It seems like a lot of money, and maybe it sounds like I budgeted low for it, but there's a reason. And then in terms of collaboration, the Clarkson Farm and Garden Club has been funding, planting, and caring for the library's flower beds for many years. It has been announced that they have won an award for this work in the library in the category of civic beautification, to be presented by the Michigan Nursery and Landscaping Association. Please join us at the library for the presentation of this award on Tuesday, August 17th at 10:30 a.m. to celebrate the hard work of these wonderful volunteers.
Excellent.
We're very excited about that.
Thank you. We'll hope for nice weather.
Indeed.
For these events. All right, let's take a look at regular business. Number 1, review of our second quarter financial report.
Okay. So first thing I want to talk about briefly in terms of the financial report is the fact that when we looked at it last quarter, we were a little bit concerned about property taxes, that number was off by about $600,000, which is huge, more than a quarter of the budget. So I was able to have a conversation with the township and kind of track that down. And so you'll see that the number that's there now is more appropriate for what it should be. There was a transfer that took place later than planned. They had some turnover in staff, and it didn't get transferred as early as it usually does. And then the person who did it didn't realize that they needed to send me the documentation. So we got it all straightened out. But we're back where we should be. This is actually far more appropriate to where we normally are at this time of year. So we're in good shape there.
That's a relief.
It is a relief. It really is a relief. Okay. And then, of course, in this one, you're seeing that the penal fines and the state aid is not on here. I'm telling you about those because they just came in, but they were not in when we did this, because this is the second quarter report. So they were not in by the end of June. In terms of the budget, there are only 2 lines that I have flagged to discuss for tonight. The first one is 818, which is professional and contract services. That particular line item, while it does not look like it's a budget issue, it actually is a budget issue because we have actually had to contract for more graphic design work. In the absence of our community relations person early in the year, we contracted some additional graphic design work, and then we've gotten that person replaced, and now we've had some turnover with our marketing librarian as well, and so we've hired some additional work on that as well. So I'm estimating that we should probably do a budget adjustment of $10,000 to make sure that we don't run into issues by the end of the year. The other line item that was flagged by the accountant, and that is 910, the insurance line. That particular line is, we pay for it all by the middle of the year, and we're $900 short in that line. Now, normally, we do get usually a rebate check, a rebate check that comes in, that is a refund of assets. That has to do with the liability account that they have, and if it's overfunded, they return some of the money to the members of that particular. Well, interestingly, we got one last year, and then at the very end of 2020, we got another one. So I am working with the account to figure out if it was attributed improperly to the year, or if it was an additional payment because there were so few lawsuits that would require that. I don't know if we're going to get another one though, so I feel like we should balance this line item with that $900 to make sure that we don't get to the end of the year and have an issue. So those are my two recommended budget adjustments. We do have $36,298 in undesignated revenue. So there is money that is easily available to cover that without having to dip into fund balance or anything like that. And then I have a little spreadsheet that I included in your packet that indicates moving $10,000 from undesignated revenue to 818, and then $900 from undesignated revenue to 910. And that would leave us a balance of $25,398 remaining in undesignated revenue.
This item, right?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, so at the moment, we only need 2 adjustments.
Yes.
I will accept the motion.
Do we need separate motions, one for each?
Because I provided you with an Excel spreadsheet, I think you can probably just approve them as presented, because it's right in the packet, what I'm asking you to do, just to make it easy.
Well, then I would move that we approve the budget adjustments as presented.
There's a second.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the 2 budget adjustments as presented. Any questions or comments further? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is passed.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 2.
It's not a board meeting if we don't talk about fire suppression.
Fire suppression.
I'm
Nancy and I
sorry.
were commenting on that when we got here and picked
It's a
up our
regular,
Yes, well, at least thanks to all the water that keeps arriving almost daily,
true.
at least the exterior of the building is
Yes.
not in need of fire suppression.
I am going to tell you that part of what makes this fire suppression conversation stressful is I'm currently reading the library book by Susan Orlean, which is about the 1986 Los Angeles Public Library fire that nearly destroyed the library and closed it for 7 years, and over 1 million books were destroyed. I shouldn't be listening to this.
We don't want that.
No, we don't. We don't. So what possessed me? I have no idea. Okay, but I digress. Okay, so each year, the Independence Township Department of Public Works requires an annual inspection of the library's backflow prevention system by a qualified contractor. This year, the inspector indicated that we needed an upgrade to the fire suppression line of our backflow prevention system. As with many of the other recent repairs and upgrades to the library's fire suppression system, this one is due to the aging system and changes in code that improve the fire protection on the building. Because we have not needed repairs or upgrades after our backflow prevention inspection in the past, we did not budget for any repairs, so this is an unbudgeted item. There is still a balance in undesignated revenue, as I mentioned in the item previously. It would be $25,398 that would cover this. So basically what Arlene did was every year they do this backflow. This is actually not a problem with the system itself, but the line that goes to the system, and it prevents any backflow within the water that's in the system. But we are attributing it to the fire suppression system. So we are having Absolute Fire come in and do this repair for us, and this is the proposal, and it's $4,511 to do this.
Right, I think many township residents got a backflow prevention inspection letter last year, if I recall this correctly, where we were all supposed to do this.
Yep.
And some of us have not had that done for some time, so I suppose this is not a big surprise.
We have it done every year. We've never had to do anything afterwards. It's always been okay. This is the first year where the inspector's like, nope, this is a problem. And so,
Well, as we all learned, if there's a problem, we have to fix
We
it.
have to fix the problem. yeah.
All right, I will accept a motion.
That we accept the budget adjustment 4511 from undesignated revenue to line 931 for the backflow prevention.
I'll second.
Cover everything?
And who is seconding this?
I did.
Nancy is seconding it. So we're approving the proposal from Absolute Fire Protection for the upgrade to the fire suppression backflow prevention, right, and improve the budget adjustment of 4511 from undesignated revenue to line 931. Okay, any other comments or questions? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Budget adjustment is approved.
And I will say that the book, the library book, is probably not a horror book to anybody but a librarian. Or a book lover, I suppose.
I actually have the book.
Okay, number
Just give
3,
it to me recently.
an update. We had asked for our clerical group, our clerks to look at fines. So let's talk about that.
Okay, so due to the pandemic, the library board voted to waive library fines for overdue materials through June 30th of 2021 to address the issue of the significant delay of the check-in of materials due to COVID quarantine process. As a clarification, this waiver only includes fines for materials that have been returned past their due dates. Fees incurred for lost or damaged items are still in effect. At the June 14th, 2021 meeting, the quarantining of materials had ended, so the board discussed how to proceed with late fees, including the possible elimination of late fees, as some other libraries have done in order to remove barriers to access. However, then the main concern became how to assure the timely return of materials for those patrons waiting for holds. The library board decided to create a subcommittee, which is Chris Nato, Allison McFadden-Kiesling, and myself, to review this issue and voted to extend the waiver on late fees through the month of August to allow the subcommittee time to meet and present their findings at the August meeting. The subcommittee held 2 productive meetings. The first meeting involved reviewing a variety of research, webinars, etc. on late fees. It was decided at that meeting that additional information from libraries that had eliminated late fees at least 8 to 12 months prior to COVID was needed. The second meeting involved reviewing that information. One piece of information that was very difficult to discern was what strategies that libraries without late fees are using to encourage the timely return of materials in lieu of late fees. Since we do not want to exchange one issue, a barrier to service caused by late fees, for a different issue, materials not being returned in a timely fashion, especially in the case of high-demand titles, the subcommittee concluded that there are 2 issues we need to address more thoroughly before making a recommendation regarding this policy. 1, do we currently have an issue with materials being returned in a timely fashion without late fees because we are still waiving fees? And 2, what other strategies should we consider to encourage a timely return of materials in lieu of late fees for people who are waiting on hold and popular items? It is currently the recommendation of the subcommittee that the board extend the waiver on late fees through the end of the year to gather more data and allow the subcommittee to consider an alternative strategy to encourage returns. Subcommittee recommends reviewing this topic at the December meeting. Any questions about any of that?
I'd like to thank the subcommittee because all of these issues
Yes.
seem sometimes to be simple, but when you start discussing them, the pros and cons and the balancing act can be interesting. So at the moment, the committee would like more time for a more thorough review. And we don't want to be bouncing back and forth with policies. So,
Now, I do feel like the committee has raised exactly the right issues,
yes,
you know, so, and obviously it does take time to collect that kind of information, so, you know, that seems like a reasonable thing to me to waive it for an additional few months so that we do the right thing when we do it. And not have to, like you say, go back and forth, change this, and then now we'll change this, and now we'll do this, and nobody will know what we're up to.
all right, I will accept a motion. Thank you for your summation.
I would approve the waiving of late fees through December 31st, 2021. I would move that.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the waiving of late fees through December 31 to allow our subcommittee time to gather further data. Any other comments or questions? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is passed. I'm sure the committee will be delighted to meet multiple more times.
It's really quite interesting, I've been learning a lot.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
We've had really good conversations, and we all seem to be on the same page in terms of where we are. It's just a matter of, as I said, not trading one problem for another problem. And unfortunately, a lot of the really good webinars are great at giving you a lot of reasons why, but they don't seem to do that other piece, which is, okay, so we'll get rid of the late fees, but then what do we do with it to make sure that, it's just a missing tidbit.
Right, because we don't have hundreds of copies of new items. So consequently, they are in demand, and
Right.
people get testy if they're on the waiting list too long.
As they should. I mean, we don't want people waiting for a ridiculous amount of time. I think we're gonna end up with a good sort of hybrid system, though. I mean, that's kind of the direction that we're leading, but we're not sure exactly what that looks like yet, and that's part of it.
Yeah, we don't have to do what everybody else is doing. I mean, we can come up with whatever fits this library.
Right,
That which fits our community.
right, which is why I think it's a good idea to wait and see what happens here now that we're not quarantining items and we still don't have fines in place. Are the books still, and other items still flowing nicely so that everyone has access to them?
And we do have the capability of ascertaining how rapidly holds are met.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, we can capture that, we can find out how long those waits are, yep.
Excellent. Well, that was swift. I will now accept a motion for adjournment.
So move.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All those in favor, please say